Thank you for listening to the Distinguished Physical Education Podcast. We just hit a major milestone, 20,000 podcast downloads. I cannot thank you enough for your support, for listening, for sharing these episodes with your colleagues, and for being a part of this community. This podcast exists because of dedicated PE teachers like you who are committed to elevating our profession and providing the physical education experience to your students that they deserve. To celebrate hitting 20,000 downloads, for a limited time, you can get $25 off of any of our self-paced professional development courses using the code DPE20K. Whether you're looking to earn graduate credits or license hours, now's a great time to dive into one of our courses. You can purchase them directly through the website, so head over to www.distinguishedpe.com and check them out. And here's something I'm really excited about. This summer, we're releasing a complete K-5 physical education curriculum. This has been a massive project, and I can't wait to share it with you. It's like nothing else out there, and I know you'll love it. If you want to be notified the moment it drops, head to the website and sign up for our curriculum waitlist. You'll be the first to know when it's available. Let's get into today's episode. Today, I'm speaking with Bryson Davis, a passionate K-5 physical education teacher at Ridgeview Elementary and an active board member of SHAPE Colorado. Bryson graduated from the University of Northern Colorado with a focus on K-12 physical education and a minor in human services. Bryson also recently earned his master's in curriculum and instruction, and he was recently honored as the 2025 SHAPE Colorado Young Professional Award winner. He is quickly becoming a leading voice on the intersection of technology and physical education. He recently presented his session, AI in PE and Health Education, Friend or Foe, at the Wyoming Association of Health Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance Conference, and for SHAPE Colorado, with an upcoming presentation for SHAPE Utah this spring. He will also represent the state of Colorado by presenting the same topic at the SHAPE America National Convention this year in Kansas City. And now I bring you Bryson Davis. Bryson, it's great to be talking with you today.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate the opportunity to get to come onto your podcast. I've been really looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it too. It's our first episode on AI and physical education. I'm excited to hear about your experiences with it. Let's start right at the beginning. When did you realize that AI could be useful in a PE program? I'm assuming that it had something to do with lesson planning. I think that's where most teachers start. If so, can you walk us through one of those first moments where AI helped you plan or improve on a lesson that you already had?
So about a year ago is when I started to take a deep dive into AI. Prior to that, I had zero knowledge, experience, any excitement for really wanting to try and get more involved with AI. It was actually a colleague of mine who doesn't work in our school district, more a science teacher, who started using it a little bit more. And so with that, there wasn't necessarily a single light bulb moment. But one thing that got me started with it, with implementing AI into lesson planning, assessments, unit planning, social emotional development, stuff like that, is actually the coaching aspect. I coach two sports here for our middle school, cross country and middle school track and field. And so the area of discipline in which I coach in is long jump, triple jump, and high jump. I have very limited prior experience and content knowledge when it comes to jumping events in track and field. So I started just playing with ChatGPT, a very common platform of AI, to help me just draft lesson plans, extensions, refinements, any type of things that could help me warm up, cool downs. Then we dove deeper into plyometrics, strength and conditioning, things that I could use to help enhance these overall athletes and their ability to, at the end of the season, hopefully get to see some goals that they achieved. And then after that, it really trickled into my teaching career. So it started off with coaching and now into teaching, I guess.
Do you remember the first lesson plan that you either modified or enhanced or had AI create for you?
I really tried to use something that I was very confident and competent in teaching. And it's very funny because one thing that I've latched onto with my time at the University of Northern Colorado, I had a professor who had taught a carnival unit. And one thing within the carnival unit is juggling. That was the first time where I took AI and incorporated it into that lesson. And so to put it in perspective, my PE classes are 30 minutes long. And so I used ChatGPT to help design a template of a 30-minute lesson that incorporated juggling aspects that aligned with not just Colorado shape standards, but Shape America standards too, because I try and do national and state standards in my lessons. And so with that, the AI, I had a great foundational knowledge of cues and steps and how to teach that specific skill of juggling and the progressions that led to it. But one thing that I found helped me enhance that lesson alone is refinements, extensions to help progressions of the lesson. And then a big thing is the APE modifications, adaptive physical education things for my students with disabilities to help create equipment modifications or environmental changes that could really adhere and help that development of the student overall. So that's when I first used AI was in the juggling lesson in my class. And then after that, it just kind of continued and blossomed.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear you talk about how you use it to modify and extend lesson plans that you already have. I've been doing the same thing. I'm working on a curriculum for Shape actually, and one of the most impactful ways that I've been able to use AI is to do that exact same thing. So I have my ideas for the lesson plan, and then I ask it, what would it look like if this particular activity was modified or if it was extended to make the task a little bit more challenging for the students who need that as well. So I found that to be really helpful myself. Aside from modifying and extending lesson plans that you already have, what are some other PE related tasks where AI saves time or even makes your teaching in the gym stronger? How might it impact things like unit planning or creating assessments even?
So speaking on that, I've developed a presentation that I've been doing at several state conferences, including Shape Wyoming, Shape Colorado, Shape Utah, and then eventually Shape America in Kansas this upcoming year. And with that, the focus is AI integration within physical education programs with a specific focus in planning, assessment, and then student engagement. So in that first part, the planning aspect, we know that AI tools can really help with the time constraint that teachers unfortunately face too often. A lot of teachers should have foundational understandings and stuff of how to teach, but maybe again, we need an idea, for example, for one of my last units for strengthening and implements, we were doing a pickleball unit. And so I had asked Goblin AI, which is a very fascinating tool that I recommend to people, to write up a warm up that includes follow through when striking with a racket, following these different cues. It helped create a couple warm ups. And then afterwards, I was able to implement it into my specific template of a lesson plan and then integrate the different steps and cues that I follow, like drop, swing, follow through, have your paddle below your belly button when striking, strike from low to high, eye on the ball, all those things. So it was a quick tool that helped me continue to elaborate on my lesson plans. With that too, with the planning aspect, it helps me with objectives. We should all know how to do it and phrasing objectives, but sometimes when we're trying to phrase it to grade level expectations or even using stuff like I can statements to help promote positivity, it can help rephrase those into in a more positive way for student understanding. We do a lot of tournaments here for our upper elementary in my school. And so I try and modify the rules as best as I can with our parks and recreational, like basketball, within my PE program. So I still have that autonomy to help. And I'll ask them to kind of look at these rules that are already in place by Parks and Rec. And maybe how can we modify these to the gymnasium? Regarding assessment, I've used a AI tool called DeepSeek as a way to create various types of assessment, both formative and summative. An example that I regularly reference, we were doing a gymnastics students, and students are going to be able to get in teams to perform a gymnastics routine, and they're going to create a storyboard by drawing 3 to 5 exercises with a focusing on, balance, tumbling, traveling, landing, jumping, stretching, all these different things that go into gymnastics. They're going to create a storyboard with drawing physical demonstrations of each different movement and then create an overall gymnastics routine that then they will perform in front of their class. And then we can get a physical cue checklist, teacher cue checklist to help kind of determine the overall content retainment with that. And so with the assessment piece, that is just, I guess, an example of creating summative, formative. It can create rubrics, AI, SMART goal worksheets. It brings me to the alignment piece too. When I'm doing assessments, I focus on the 3 domains of physical education, which is psychomotor, cognitive, and affective. And I always align my assessments with that. And so when I'm trying to create an assessment with DeepSeek or ChatGPT or Goblin, any type of AI, I always make sure that it's encompassing those three domains of PE. And then finally, to speak on this last part, the student engagement, which is honestly one of the most important parts, I think, of learning, because if we can't get those kids actively engaged into our content, then there's no point. And so with this, AI has allowed us to personalize the content specifically towards our targeted audience of elementary, specifically with me, while also providing creative opportunities for them. Examples that I see in my secondary use at my high school with my high school PE teacher, he uses AI to make custom workouts and nutrition plans for our weightlifting classes to better personalize their overall growth throughout the semester in like a beginner weights class to optimize the overall development and progressions with their weight training program. Other examples of student engagement, gamifying challenges. I do a health and fitness week in my PE program. And this year, our theme is going to be the Avengers theme workout, where we just tailor different exercises to superhero workouts and stuff. But I didn't come up with that idea. I literally asked AI, hey, what's a great theme idea or some workout names that we could then tailor towards these specific exercises to just get the overall engagement up. And then two more pieces to this is, and I've learned this in chapter 4 of the Distinguishing PE Teacher, the storytelling aspect, communicating student-friendly objectives, and like telling a story per se to really push the content in a meaningful way. And I always tell people there's bonus points if you can personalize the story to your life. And so using AI, I've used Magic School AI to create a very simple story. They're called social stories, which are for like skill-based narratives to simply create a story. If we're really unimaginative, create a story about this weekend about my friend kicking a ball to me. And then that specific AI tool can really take it and run with it and make it so much more. Or another one, the final one I'm going to leave you with before we move on. Magic School AI also created this very interesting one that when I'm at conferences, I get laughed at. It's the power of, we talk about social stories, but songwriting. And so I've been able to construct a song with the Old MacDonald song that you learned as a kid and incorporating cues and steps of bowling for my cosmic bowling unit, and then singing the song to them. And then afterwards, it had happened last year's after we had sing the song a couple of times, they're not retaining the entire song, but they're remembering all the steps that go into just correctly rolling a ball. These are like the three big things: the planning, the assessment, and the engagement. AI can help modify and enhance all of these as long as we stay in control in the seat and make sure we always have that autonomy piece of being a teacher at the end of the day.
Just a quick reminder for listeners, the Colorado PE Summit takes place June 3rd and 4th in Aurora, Colorado, just outside of Denver. This free professional learning opportunity is designed for all K-12 PE and health teachers. If you are interested in attending and/or presenting, check the show notes for additional details. I'm feeling a sense of relief because I think I had a couple of bad experiences with AI. So I think you know that in the role that I currently have right now, I support a lot of teachers. The overwhelming majority are physical education teachers, but every now and then I find myself in a classroom supporting a novice teacher or a teacher who's struggling. So one time I was supporting a health teacher at one of our middle schools, and he had an AI lesson plan that he literally just printed out from ChatGPT and handed to every single one of his students. And he was reading the lesson plan as students were filling in blanks. And it was pretty obvious that he was reading the lesson for the first time. He hadn't done the things that you are talking about, which is adding certain inputs, asking for modifications, telling the AI program that you use exactly what you're looking for, whether that's a certain type of assessment or a certain type of objective for the lesson. So I feel a little bit more at ease hearing how hands-on you are as the expert teacher in this process.
I really try to, because I feel like, as it's not in my district specifically, but throughout, I feel like we really need to push ourselves as a professional practice. And so if we have teachers just using AI saying, can you please create a lesson plan for throwing and catching for the third grade? Okay, print it. If you follow it step by step, that's not necessarily the best practice in my mind, because in that lesson, do we have align state, national standards? Do we have these modification extensions? Is there meaning and autonomy that's been put in from the teacher in these lessons to make it an experience for the kids? Because that's what we're here for, is to not just teach them all these psychomotor based movement skills, but to lead to the effective domain piece, the SEL. But can we make that connection to hopefully create participants in lifelong activity through physical education?
Aside from teachers who might just ask AI for a lesson plan and then try to go implement it, can you think of any other areas where AI might be being overhyped or misused in our discipline?
There are definitely some issues with AI within PE and just in education in itself that people should be aware of. And I feel like one of the first ones I'm going to lead off with is there are a lot of people who don't. Again, I already said this, is PE is a profession or an important career, so over reliance on AI can potentially lead to more disbelief within our profession and how we can portray it. I think another one is students lose opportunities for the human connection, the mentorship, or the social emotional learning. Prior to AI, I put a lot of time, effort, emotion, and critical thinking into this lesson plan to make sure it's going to be the best for my students. And to see how AI can do that like that really quick is a little disheartening, because a lot of these teachers, they would put a ton of time into it. So making sure that we use it as a template to then push our ideas into it.
So it sounds to me like you're using AI as a thought partner, and there's a lot of back and forth. So you're not just saying, "Give me a lesson on throwing and catching," and then taking whatever it gives back to you. You're asking a lot of questions and you're refining its responses to you.
Exactly, because and especially with different AI chat boxes, to be specifically like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, all these ones, one thing to take in consideration is the more detailed questions or prompts you give these tools, the more detail you're going to come out with the overall product. But that doesn't mean the work's finished there. Just because you have a polished piece of work the AI giving you doesn't mean that there's still things to make improvements on, especially when it comes to the social emotional connection, because that's where AI lacks thereof, is the autonomy piece and be able to connect. And so you see that when you're making different lesson plans, specifically with maybe like APE or modifications for students with disabilities, it's hard for AI to still at this point comprehend the specific needs to tailor for that student's differences. And so it can misinterpret it. That's why it's important to also make sure you modify it with your personal experience to make sure that that student's getting the right services per se.
I really like the framing of using AI as a thought partner, because one of the things that physical education teachers struggle with is the fact that sometimes they're the only one of their kind in their building. If you had an expert PE teacher as a partner at your school, you wouldn't just go to them and ask them for all their lesson plans and then read them really quick the morning before you go teach them. You would ask that person a lot of questions. You would get to know their instructional methods. You would learn about the activities that they're planning for their students. You would learn how they're going to communicate their objectives and so on. And then you would have a dialogue with them and make it fit your own personal style. So now the way that you're making me see AI is not as something where you just say, "I need a lesson on throwing and catching for second graders." But as long as you keep going back and forth and you have a clear vision for what you want that final product to look like, it sounds like it can give you some great ideas. It can fill in some gaps. And then absolutely, it can save you a whole bunch of time.
Yeah, I could agree with everything you said there, honestly, because to me, especially one thing I took away from that is I am in a small school district, and I do have a great PLC team for my elementary team. Johnny Ford, elementary PE teacher of the year last year. And so we bounce off each other all the time. But this semester, I haven't got to see him as much as I'd like. And so it's just me at my school. And so I really got to, how can I make my practice the best it can? And so far this year, it's been that using everything from Chat GPT or any AI type source as a template to really fine tune and just perfect my overall craft. There's just a couple things like, and I really try and push this in my presentation as much, because I think a lot of people, they feel comfortable using AI, but we don't know some of the effects that it can have depending on how and which platform you end up using. Why do I bring this up? Because I think a big thing that we should be aware of when we're implementing AI tools into any type of practice is the data privacy and student safety. So making sure that when you're using any type of AI tool, data is not being sold, hacked, or used without consent. And so making sure you take a deep dive and make yourself knowledgeable of that specific platform before you use it, maybe with the school or the district. Making sure that when it comes to bias and equity issues, again, like we had talked about a little bit, students with disabilities, they're not misscored or misinterpreted by AI tools. And then making sure we don't lose our teacher autonomy and don't become over reliance on any of these AI tools to potentially damage our professional judgment. And then the last point with using these AI tools is the thought, this is just a thought of the erosion potential of critical thinking and creativity. So making sure that we stay at the end of the day in the driver's seat and we use this as a tool. And as someone who has now taken a deep dive into it, I'm going to take a step back from it a bit, continue to use it, but making sure that we're not overusing it because I think it can take a toll on your critical thinking, your creativity. And I think the sense of pride and the idea of being able to come up with things, not by yourself, but just having that little bit of creativity when you're creating anything of curriculum, instruction, assessment. So those are just some points of consideration when it comes to and the incorporation of AI into your professional practices at your school district, et cetera. So I just wanted to lay that out there.
I appreciate you bringing up the caution around student data. That's something that teachers really need to keep front of mind. And I'm really glad to hear you bring up integrity of work too. On social media, it drives me crazy when I see something that has just been 100% copied and pasted that you know is AI. It doesn't sound like any human writing that you've ever read before in your life. I just saw one of the state PE accounts on Instagram put up not just AI text, but also an AI video. And it was just so weird. It was like a kid running through an obstacle course, and the movements that was making was like watching a superhero video, but not quite. Like you could still kind of be fooled by it. And then in the corner of the room, the teacher and like four other kids are sitting on a mat. And, like the letters and everything on their shirts are all weird and jacked up and they don't actually spell anything. And it just seemed so weird for one of our state organizations to put out a video like that. I don't know. To me, it's just so odd. Like, where's the integrity to the work that you're trying to share with people? Am I just being like an old grumpy guy, or do you think there's something to that?
No, I think you're 100% on the right track with the integrity piece. I've seen myself in this past year. I've done some great accomplishments, but I think at the same time, some of those accomplishments is not going to lie, granted, to some of the AI tools that I'd use to help me with the time constraints that I have to be able to accomplish some of these goals, which should still be celebrated. But at the end of the day, one thing it's really opened my eyes to is making sure that we continue to create and develop our professional practices in our own eyes and the best that they can be in our own ability. That way we can in the future be competent teachers who don't need an AI tool to direct them step by step on how to do stuff, because that would be unfortunate, I guess.
I think the ultimate end goal would be that the AI taught you something, that you had a really smart friend that walked you through a process and was your thought partner. And then at the end, yes, it helped you save time and you produced something new, but you also learned something from the process. You were also an active participant in it, not just someone who takes whatever it spits back out at you. You mentioned student data earlier. And what I'm guessing is that you meant that teachers would put data that they collect from students into AI in order to analyze it, like to get grades or as an assessment?
So to speak on that with the AI and support of assessment and data, I always say with caution, because when I'm at my state conferences that I'm presenting and I'm talking about any type of data that I've used, up until this point, I never have used or I never put any personalized data, whether it's student, school, district, anything like that. One, because of the regulations that our school district has around AI. And so I can't put any specifics in there. Now I can put If I'm trying to do my fitness test and I'm trying to make it into a nice little spreadsheet, I can put the results from the fitness test in there to it organize my thoughts and everything and maybe rearrange it in some type of format that would help. But I always tell people you need to make sure just take a deep dive before you start putting it into. Or an example is I'll put my personal data for sure, because that's the one point that I like to speak about too with AI is for things like ChatGPT, everybody opens that up and then they put in a prompt and they get a result thinking, wow, this is free. I don't have to pay for this. It's not free. Unfortunately, you're still putting information that the platform's collecting and then they're getting money off of that. And so you're feeding into it. You're still giving it something. But I have used it for my personal and my strength training to help me become a better athlete because I do strongman. And so that's worked to my advantage, and I've helped put stuff in there to help me push my limitations. But I have yet to put any type of serious student data in there because of the potential risk factors that come with it.
If a PE teacher who is listening today wants to start using AI, and we want to make sure that they root whatever it is that they get out of AI in best practice, how would you recommend that they go about that? Like, what would be the first thing that you would advise them?
This is a great question. So I just finished up my capstone project titled Leveraging AI and Technology to Enhance K-5 Physical Education Curriculum Assessments, Rubrics. Part of this project is collecting various data from physical education teachers using AI in their instruction. One of my questions that I have in a survey that I've asked to a bunch of Colorado teachers and Wyoming teachers, when I go and present my presentation at the end, there's a survey. Have you ever used technology tools or AI assistant platforms to support curriculum assessments or rubric development in PE? So have you used it at all? So I have 29 people so far who've filled out this survey and have answered this question. Out of the 29 of those participants, 79.3 said that they have experience using any type of AI platform for professional practice. So my question to those who are more knowledgeable of AI tools is, are you using these tools to its full potential when it relates to your PE program for those 79.3? Have we created extensions, refinements, APA tools, rubrics, all this stuff? Or are we just creating lesson plans? I don't think we've quite hit the potential of what this could actually do. Going back to your question, some tips I would recommend to those who may not be as involved currently in AI but want to learn more about it. First one, do your research, educate yourself. A year ago from now, zero experience with AI, no idea. Now I did an entire capstone project on it. I'm presenting at a national and state level conferences. I was very interested in it, so I took a deep dive into it, looking at various types of platforms. And I've only honestly talked about 3 or 4 today, but there's so many. You got to do your research and educate yourself and do a deep dive into it. Second one, try various AI platforms. I think one of the most common ones, ChatGPT. Why? Because it's easy, it's comfortable, we know what we're doing. But I have explored so many other platforms that are way better for so many points, whether I'm making presentations, writing emails, creating visuals for my classes. There's so many things out there that are also free. The third one, attend professional development opportunities for AI and PE. I love attending different types of state and national conventions, whether it's Shape America, Shape Wyoming, Shape Utah, or even the Colorado Health and PE Summit, which I'm super excited to register for in this upcoming summer. So attend professional development opportunities that can help enhance these tools. Because at most sessions that I've gone to at these conferences, usually at least one over either technology or AI specific. And the last one is start easy. So start easy with a platform like ChatGPT. And if you're familiarized with the platform, then again, venture out to different ones or figure out how can I use ChatGPT to my advantage in a different way that I haven't already. Those are, I guess, some tips that I would use if you're not as knowledgeable or wanting to get more involved with AI.
I really like those. And I think the only thing that I would add to it is don't let the AI dictate your end product. Have a vision for your project and then use the AI as a partner in order to get yourself there. You mentioned that some AI platforms were better for some things than others. So you said that ChatGPT might be great for modifying lesson plans, but then you also said that you use other platforms for presentations or for creating pictures. Can you just list off a couple of those other platforms that you like to use?
In my presentation, I have a visual of, and I haven't gone through all these either, at least like 50 different AI tools, but then it's categorized into AI chatbots, image generation, writing generation, presentation, spreadsheets, scheduling, all these different components. Some of the ones that I've explored that I have come to find, super interesting, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, of course, Canva is great. Goblin AI, learned that one at Shape Wyoming from another AI presentation I went to, which was fantastic. A couple others that I really like doing for visuals. If I'm creating a visual for my class, I like to use Happier AI. This one's kind of a weird name. Pika AI. I use those two for image or video creation. And there's also the one that I use for AI data visualization. Is this one called Flourish AI. So there is so many that you can try and use. And again, the best thing to do is just kind of take a couple minutes, try and do a mini deep dive, and then continue to see which ones you agree with the most. But those are just a couple examples of what I would use in different areas, I suppose.
Is that resource something that you would be willing to share with folks? That one slide maybe from your presentation, and I can link that in the notes to the episode.
Yeah, I'll send it to you for sure. It's a great resource. And then the final thing, Gary, before I close off, is using AI to help enhance your personal health and physical activity and well-being. I have had the opportunity to have AI create a template of a workout plan for one of my future competitions of strongman, where it had different implements like carrying events, pressing, deadlifts, all this stuff. And I followed it to a T, and the success rate, or just the growing factor for my goals, was incredible. We get so caught in the idea of how can we use it to help others or help our students. We can use this to help our personal lives, whether it's create a healthy habit tracker for me for the week, create a dietary plan that has these constraints. If I'm like lactose intolerant or something, create a workout plan to get me started for my New Year's goals. Just the idea of self-care and getting these teachers to hopefully take a little bit of investment in themselves, I think can go a long way in then helping the students and the school districts continue their goals and ambitions and everything with that.
Well, we talk about teacher well-being and ultimately teacher retention quite often. So I'm really happy to hear you make connections to how AI can help with those two things as well. Bryson, it's been wonderful speaking with you today. Congrats on earning your master's. I forgot to mention at the beginning of our conversation that you just recently won the 2025 Young Professional Award from Shape, Colorado. So congrats on that as well. And I'm also really glad to hear that you're going to be presenting in Kansas City. I'm planning on being there myself, and I was really disappointed when I couldn't catch you in early December at our state conference. I had to work the first half of the day, and I was really bummed to see that your session was that morning. So I'm really happy that I'll get to see you in Kansas City.
I appreciate it. To me, it's just the first of many steps in my teaching career. So I'm excited to continue to pursue higher aspects like elementary PE Teacher of the Year, and hopefully one day get to represent Colorado at the district and national level. I try and set my goals very high. So we'll see. We're on the right track, though. So I'm very excited. I'm very blessed to be able to teach in such a wonderful school district state and have amazing colleagues like yourself to just continue to help me grow as a professional.